Hello everyone, welcome to today's Vision 6 Power Session, Capture Data for Personalisation with Surveys and Forms. My name's Andy, the product trainer here in Brisbane, and I'll be taking you through today's session. So the topic of today's session is all about getting extra data and then using that to improve our marketing. So how can we do this? What does this actually allow us to do? Well, one of the key things is that it allows us to then personalize our emails and SMS communications because we've got extra data available to make that happen. It also means we can segment our sends as well. If we use an example that we'll go through shortly, if we look at our fictitious donut shop, XYZ Donuts, let's say you just have the person's email address and first name at the moment. We can do a little bit of personalization with the first name, but there's not too much we can do. However, if we send out a survey and ask people to fill out their dietary or maybe set what state they're in, this then gives us more information that we can use, and we can personalize the email and of course segment as well. So say we do want to send an email out to all of our gluten-free customers in Queensland because we might need to move a little bit of stock. We can then just send out a segmented email to those people because we've got some data we can use for that to happen. We can use the state field to make sure it's just reaching people in Queensland, and we can use the dietary field to just reach people that have said that they're gluten-free. We can also personalize our comms as well. So say we are doing a generic e-newsletter to everyone on our list from everywhere. If we again know that that user is gluten-free or in a certain state, we can change parts of the email so that a certain little article or feature article, something like that, changes just for gluten-free or vegetarian people, for example. So some great information there. We'll go through that in a few moments as well to show you a little bit more about what that can mean and what it can do. Also, it means that your importing is improved rather, and so are your click maps. I've got an example here. I'll just enlarge this here of a click map report, which essentially shows you where people are clicking within your email. But the great thing is that because we're doing segmented sends and personalized sends, and the data is allowing us to do this, we will then get improved reporting. Case in point, let's just say you're sending out an email about maybe some store closures you've got in New South Wales because there's a public holiday coming up. Now, if you send that email to everyone on your full list of everyone around the world, you might get some unsubscribes because people go, well, I'm not in that area. Why are you telling me about store closures there? This means nothing to me. Oh, these people send me too many emails. I'm just going to unsubscribe. So the good thing is that because you're just doing the segmented sends, you now can do that. You have that functionality because you've got the data to enable it. Your reporting is improved. So again, another example there, if you're sending out that gluten-free email to gluten-free users on your contact list, the reporting is going to show a much higher click rate because the email that was sent to those people is extremely relevant. Whereas if you sent that email out to everyone on your list, the click-throughs and engagement as a percentage will be quite low because it went to everyone, not just a small percentage of users who were, say, gluten-free or vegetarian, whatever the case might be. So some very good improved data from a reporting point of view as well. It's more accurate, I guess, because it's relevant to the audience. Content optimization too is another good one. What this essentially means is that you're able to change the content appearing in your newsletter based on what's been happening in the past. So again, if you know a lot of your, say, users are in Queensland, that's maybe where you have the most stores from your retail chain, you might decide to surface more Queensland articles first, or I guess depending on what your users are clicking on. If you've got a lot of users clicking on some recipe emails and things that you're sending, maybe they're preferring savory recipes over sweet recipes, and you're using the click map and the reporting data to find that out. You could then optimize your content and put the things that most people like first at the top of the email. Again, it's going to increase your engagement and clicks because the more relevant stuff, which is more relevant to the larger group of people, is first in your message. So it's all about prioritization and the ordering as well, which this can enable. Subject line choice too is another good one. So I was doing some training recently with a health insurance company, and they're targeted at young people. So, between the, 18 to mid 25 bracket was their target audience. And this is something that was done through their imagery, the wording that they use, just, their brand in general is targeted at that particular age group. And this sort of allowed them to change their subject lines to suit that age group. So they may have been using more emojis potentially, acronyms, just shortening words and that kind of thing. Again, because that may resonate better with the younger audience, or at least that's what their marketing data had told them. So they were using that information to inform their subject lines as well, and the content, of course, as well. So another good thing you can use there. And finally, imagery. Again, if we're looking at our example from before, if we know that we have a high percentage of vegetarian or gluten-free readers or contacts on our list, we might decide to switch out the imagery just for them, so that the imagery is more personalized for their dietary requirements and preferences there, which is, again, another good thing. So the email will be more impactful because it is showing things very relevant to the audience, to the contact that's getting that message. And we can do that through a function called conditional content, where we're swapping out some of these things. I'll show you that in a moment. So, of course, as you should know by now, if you've attended a couple of these, by personalizing an email, it will have a better impact and engagement than a generic one because it's more relevant to the audience. It's going to resonate with them. They're going to go, oh, cool, this is for me. So one way to do that through personalization, of course, is by wildcarding in information that you know about your contact. So one example being the first name. Here you can see I've put the contact's first name in the subject, in the preview text, in our introduction, and even on the button. So that's another great thing you can do with Vision 6 is personalize, put any sort of string or any sort of field that you know about your contacts within the content you're sending them. And doing things like putting first names on buttons, you'll be surprised how well that works. People think, oh, that's buttons for me, I'm going to click it. So some good little tips there in terms of getting a higher click-through and engagement simply by using that wildcard functionality. Again, another thing I mentioned just briefly is swapping out content or imagery for people that meet certain criteria. This function in Vision 6 is called conditional content. Here you can see I've just got a screenshot from a newsletter. Our first two lead stories in the newsletter are as follows here. However, we're using the conditional content feature to switch out the text imagery button, and even the place the button goes is different for our gluten-free readers. And this is something you can do with our conditional content function. We've got another power session we've done on that a little while ago. You can find on our YouTube recordings or in our help center. Just search for conditional content to find out more about how to do this. But essentially, you're just building one email and parts of it are changing based on contact criteria. And this is something you can do when you've got that extra data available to be able to personalize. Today, what we're going to look at is creating a form or a survey or a questionnaire, whatever you like to call it, to actually get some of this extra data from our contacts. So it could be an NPS survey. It could be an email you send to someone automatically 10 minutes after they subscribe to your list to say, hey, tell us a little bit more about yourself. And those that want to fill it in and do so, they're building their profile and providing you with some extra information. And in some cases, I've seen people incentivize that. So, get 10% off your next purchase in store if you fill in this form, and then I'll put a discount code on the thank you page or whatever it might be. So what type of data can we collect on these forms and surveys and whatnot that we're going to create? Well, you can just do standard text strings or comments. So like the first name here, that's just a text field. Comments field are just slightly longer versions of a text field, essentially. You can do ratings or a number scale, where people can choose this from one of those bulleted lists, like the radio buttons they call them, or a drop-down can have the numbers and they have to choose one of the options. You can ask the person to enter a web address, email address, multiple choice or single choice questions, like this one here. They can choose one of many options, as well as file uploads, like we've got here. And this is what we're going to do in today's example. We're going to build a form where we ask the people who are visiting our XYZ donut stores to take a photo of their item or that they've purchased, fill it in with the photo and some other details, and send that through to us to win a prize. So that's what we're going to build today. That's the type of form we'll be building today. Before we do so, though, a quick look at form types. We've got actually 4 different types of forms in Vision 6. 2 of them can apply to this particular scenario. So I'm going to quickly explain a little bit about the 2 types of forms that would fit this scenario so you can make sure you choose the right one. And the 2 that you could use for this is a subscribe form or an update profile form. Now, a subscribe form, whenever someone fills it in, even if they're already on your list, it will make a new contact. And in some cases, it'll duplicate, of course. So essentially, if you send people an email on your list and say, hey, fill out this survey, and that survey is on a subscribe form, you'll get a second version of everyone. So everyone who fills in the survey, that contact will be duplicated. So I just wanted to mention that because that may not be the right use case or fit. However, there is a solution which we'll cover shortly. So the good thing is with a subscribe form, these are generally best used in external location. So you might put the survey on your website, and when people fill that in, they will then join or subscribe to your list. So this is good if you don't have a list of people yet, or you're building your list of contacts, use a subscribe form. However, there is a solution if you're sending this survey out to people already on a list, and that is an update profile form. With an update profile form, it will update or add to your existing contact. So if Bob Smith gets an email about filling in a survey and Bob Smith clicks the link to do so, all the information he puts in will be put on Bob Smith's profile. So as the name suggests, it's updating his profile with the answers he provides in the questionnaire form. So this type of form is usually best if you're linking to it from an email, and that's what we're doing today. We're emailing all of our customers to say, we have this new competition. If you go in store, take a photo, fill in the form, and you'll then be entered into the competition. So that's how that works. And that's the one we're going to be using today because that is the best fit for our use case. So just keep that in mind there. If it's a little bit confusing potentially at first, once you make a few, it sort of makes a bit more sense. And on our support center as well, there's a whole article there that explains the different types of forms. And again, as I said, there's actually 4, but 2 fitting today's use case. So let's go and create our form or survey for our photo competition. And our steps are, number 1, to locate the list that you want to add your form to, build the form, test it, and then view the information that's come back in from those people who fill it out. And if you want to, enable notifications, because if you want, you can actually receive an email every time someone fills it in, which might be handy. It could also be very annoying, but you can turn that on or off. And optionally, not covered today, but if you wanted to, you could build an email and link it to your new form or survey, which of course, in most cases you would do. So you'd build your email and link it to the form and then send it out to everyone. They would get the email and click through and they can fill in the form then. So not covered in today's session, but it's quite easy. You just go to the email, add a link to the form. And again, more articles on that in our support center. Another optional thing you can do is create an automation so that when someone fills in the form, you could send back a thank you email with a code in it or just a thank you email if you wanted to. So that's optional too. So let's start with the top 4 steps there. Step 1, locate the list in question. So I'm just here in lists and forms, and I'll be sending my email to my main customer list. So I'm going to put the form on my customers list here. Now, here's actually those 4 form types that I was mentioning before. So it's important that you use the update profile form because, as I said, that's the best fit for our use case. We want our existing people to update their profile with some answers they've put into this form to fill in our survey. Now, you'll see when we come into this area, we've got these 3 sub-tabs here, login, update, and thank you page. You don't really need this login form if you are sending people to this form via email, which is what we're going to be doing. We'll later on, not covered in here, but we will build an email and tell people, hey, here's the link to the survey. So we don't need this login form because when the user clicks through from an email, we already know who they are. They're essentially logging in when they click that link. So we don't actually need this. This is only used if Vision 6 doesn't know who the person is. And it says, well, I can't update your profile. I don't know who you are yet. So this form is displayed. But we can actually just tell Vision 6 to skip this form by clicking this button down here. Do not show this form if they've clicked through from an email. So we do want to turn that on. And now this form won't be shown anywhere if they're clicking through from an email, which is good. Cool. So that's that. Generally, that won't be used, so I don't even bother making it look nice. Next up, we have the actual update profile form itself. Now, this is where we're going to build our survey. Now, the good thing is with this, because, again, Vision 6 is smart enough to know that if Bob Smith gets an email from us and Bob Smith clicks the link to fill out this form, Vision 6 knows that it's Bob Smith who is doing so. So we don't actually need to ask for anything on here that we already know, like the email or the name, because we already know it's Bob Smith because of the special link he's coming through. So the links that Vision 6 sends out to all the people on your list are unique. So Vision 6 knows Bob's the one who's filling in this form. We don't need to ask him anything that we already know about him. But we do want to ask some new questions. One is what store they purchased the item from for the photo competition. So I'm just going to switch that on over here, the nearest store. Now, rather than nearest store, I'm going to make it read a bit nicer, the display name down here. I'll say store purchased from, whoops, there we go. That's got that there. The other next field I'd like to have is where they can type what item they purchased. So I'm going to make a new field for that because we don't have one yet. So I'll make a new field and I'll just use a text field for this. Here's a text field, add that. And I'll call it item purchased. But again, the display name, I'll make it a little bit more friendly and say, what item did you purchase? There we go. And the last thing I'd like to let them do is upload a photo. And again, I don't have a field for that at the moment on my list, but I can always add a new one. Let's go and add one. And right at the bottom, one of our field types is called file upload. This lets the user or contact upload a file, and it stores it in the Files and Images Manager over here. We'll go and add that one. I'll call the field competition photo. And I might make the friendly name upload your food photo. I might change it, upload your XYZ donuts food photo. So they know it has to be one of our photos, not their own photo they've taken of something they made. Cool. A few little things here. You can actually limit what types of files you can restrict the user from uploading, PDF files, because it doesn't make sense to upload a spreadsheet if it's a photo of some food. So I'm going to just turn images on. I'll also set the file size here. I might just make that 10 meg, but you could lower that or increase that. That's how big each photo can be. And also you can set where the photo will go in your Files and Images Manager when they're uploaded. So you might like to make a new folder in there for your food photo competition entries or whatever, but I'm just going to put mine into, I'll just put it into my Powersession training folder here, but yeah, you can make a new one there. Press save. That's looking pretty good. Another few things I might do here is I might just add in, let's go XYZ donuts photo comp. So they know it's for our photo competition. And I might put our logo at the top. So I'm going to use the image icon here. These are all those folders we were talking about, by the way. I've told it to save competition entries in here. But for now, I'm inserting my logo. So I've got a little logos folder here. I'll make it a bit smaller. Insert that. That's looking good. And now we can just change it to our brand colors. I never have our exact purple in here. I might just use that for now. And of course, other design things we can change here. Actually, I might leave that one, but I'll change the form background to the same purple. That's looking pretty good. And maybe here, instead of fill out the form below, we might put in submit your XYZ donuts food photo below to win. Go into the draw to win a great prize. And what you could do as well is there's the ability to add a link as well. So you could say, T's and C's on our website, and then link. So there you can paste in the link to your website, whatever. I'll just put Google in there for now. But yeah, that's how you can link that through. Excellent. That's all looking good. We will now save our form and let's fill it in as if we were someone, because that's the next step of the process, is to test it. Now, you might remember that I said this login form won't appear when they click through from an email, but because we're just testing it, it will appear. So I'm just going to put in my email address. As long as this is a contact on my list, which it is, I can go through. This is what everyone will see when you email this through. So a few options. What store do we purchase it from? Maybe we were in Sydney, the Custard Cove store. We purchased a donut cake. And here we can upload our photo. So I'm going to press choose file and find my donut cake. There it is, and open that one up. So I've just selected that and placed that in there. Now this works on a phone as well. So if the user was on their phone doing this, it would open up their browser, their camera roll, and they could choose their phone from there. So looking good. Press submit. We'll get a thank you page as well coming up. There it is. Again, if you want to customize that, there's a tab for that here. Thank you page. You can change the way that looks. But the last step in the process is, okay, what if someone does fill in the form? Where does the information go? Well, because it's an update profile form, it goes against that customer's profile. So if I come into contacts, there's the person I pretended to be, training at Vision 6. And if we come along to the right here, you can see that they purchased at the Sydney store and it was the donut cake. But if I go and edit or view that contact, you'll see there's the information they entered. And Vision 6 includes a link to view the photo that they entered in the competition. So I can click on that. It will take me to the Files and Images gallery and it will highlight their photo. So I guess after a while, you'll have lots of photos in here from all the different entries, but it highlights the one that that user submitted there, which is great. So we can find it easily. And the reason it's putting it in the Powersessions folder is because when I added that file upload field, I told it to put it in that folder. So that's another great function there. So I can see that of all the contacts on my list, only one person has actually filled in my form and entered into my competition. So, you know, if you had hundreds of contacts, you would just scroll through them to see which ones have entered information. You could also do a search as well to search any of these fields. And there's a field to say, show me anyone whose fields are not empty. So you can just remove everyone from the search who doesn't have any data in there. Thus, they haven't entered our competition. And we can just search for people that have entered our competition. So a great little feature there as well. Lastly, I did mention that you can get a notification whenever someone fills in this form. So if you want to do that, just come back to lists and forms here, find your form. You don't have to be on this tab here if you don't want to. You can be on any of the tabs when you do this, but the key thing is to go to details, notifications, and put your email address in this field. Whenever someone updates a profile, Vision 6 will send an email to whatever email address you put in here. So test@journals.com would get a notification now. That's how you do that little function there. Now, if you wanted to learn a little bit more about this function, maybe you want to try this for yourself or even just follow a video of something similar, if you go to our support center, which of course is support.vision6.com.au in the top left corner there, do a search for surveys or questionnaire, and you'll get this article here, which will walk you through with a video as well, how to create surveys. So in this example, we're actually doing the similar thing here, asking the user to, asking the contact to fill in a photo competition form, and it walks you through everything there. So if you ever get stuck, this information is also available in our support center and the link at the top left there. Thank you very much for joining today's Vision 6 Powersession Capture Data for Personalization with Surveys and Forms. My name's Andy. I hope you've enjoyed today's session. We'll see you at the next one. Thank you.